Okay, everyone, welcome to Breakout Room 10 for the next presentation titled Get Shifty, Using the 4 Shifts to Support Teachers. And I'm sure our presenters are going to give you a lot of great information for supporting your teachers. My name is Brandy Fagan, and I am an educational recovery leader with the Kentucky Department of Education. And I'm your host today, so I will be monitoring the chat and keeping everyone on time. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and I will be monitoring that as we present. So at this time, I would like to turn this over to our presenters leaders from Rowan County Schools: Brandy Carver, the Director of Professional Learning; Pam Roland, the Digital Learning Coach; and Julia Rawlings, the Assistant Superintendent. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. And as Brandy said, I am the Director of Professional Learning at Rowan County Schools. Formerly, for the last 9 years, I served as Assistant Principal and Principal at Rowan County Senior High School until this year I moved over into a new role. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
I'm Julia Rawlings. I am the Assistant Superintendent here for Rowan County for the last 4 years. Prior to that, I was at KDE.
My name is Pam Roland. I'm the Digital Learning Coach district-wide for Rowan County Schools. Formerly 25 years middle school social studies and language arts teacher.
Okay, so we are the small but mighty deeper learning team at Rowan County Schools. We have done a lot of work in the last couple of years, a lot this year, but in the last few years of really making sure in our district that we have a cohesive message that goes out to our community and our teachers. And we learned very quickly that having a common language around what deeper learning looks like has been a really important thing for our schools. And so our journey really started a few years ago. We looked for a way to incorporate an instructional model with all of the technology implementation that we were given as a result of COVID. And so that is where Pam Roland has been our go-to girl. Julia asked her to, find an instructional model or figure out how we're going to roll out all of these Chromebooks and what that was going to look like in our district. So at this time, this has been Pam's baby, so I'm going to turn it over to her and let her kind of talk about the rollout at Rowan County.
So as Brandy stated, our journey started in 2020 when we started to roll out our one-to-one initiative. And we wanted to look for a framework that was not necessarily a technology framework, but an instructional framework that would add tech infusion to that. So I'll just kind of start. So that's when we discovered, with the help of Laura Raganas at KDE, I consulted with her, the state lead for digital learning coaches, and she recommended Scott McLeod's work, which I'm sure there's multiple sessions today, so you've had a little exposure. So I hope for ours, maybe we give you more of a district perspective on what that looks like. So I'll just start with, as Dr. Glass talks about so often, think about the student experience and how do we prepare students for their future, the future that they will inherit, not the future we had. And so I think that last picture illustrated what their future will look like. So there's the book, Harnessing Technology for Deeper Learning by Scott McLeod and Julie Graber. So we really looked at what could we use with our teachers that they would be able to implement this technology in a meaningful way. I mean, we know that students are consuming more technology than ever before, but what we want to move them from being consumers of technology, being mandatory training on the 4 shifts protocol. So really, it was just sharing the ideas in the 4 shifts protocol. So if you look there, you can see we want to move from factual recall to deeper thinking and learning, which we're all hearing so much about now. Traditional activities to more authentic work. 100% teacher control to students having that agency and choice and personalization, and from traditional resources to tech infusion. But what you notice is that tech is actually the last piece of the puzzle. When you're working with the other three areas, technology just naturally happens as part of the process. So we kind of looked at in our training, how can we do that? So I love the idea of the 4 shifts protocol, but because it's one of those things that it has a low floor, but high ceilings, because it's something easy that teachers can use almost immediately and look at. So we'll talk about how we looked at how we trained and looked at that. So if you want to pull up the next one, I think we have the, and you guys jump in whenever you feel free. Brandy, I thought Brandy was going to talk there. Okay, so so we'll go ahead and jump. So what we did is I asked the teachers in our training, we had an overview and we talked about the areas and the 4 areas. And then we looked at, just pick one of those areas. You can pick deeper thinking, authentic work, student agency. And so rather than having teachers take their own lessons, we actually utilized one of the lessons from the book, and there's several great ones in there. It's a short, the book's only 50 pages, very quick read. So we had teachers to actually take one of the lessons from the book and redesign it. And so that's where, and I can't stress enough, don't just hand, like we had this, which you have a copy of in the presentation, and our teachers use this to redesign a lesson. But if you just hand this to teachers and then they feel overwhelmed by this because it's just too much. So one of the things, if we just focus on the first one, deeper thinking and learning, when you look there, I think we talk a lot about deeper thinking and learning, but I think teachers need assistance in what that looks like. Like, is this truly deeper thinking and learning? So I think that's where the protocol comes in, and they can ask the questions that you see there. So for example, I'll just pull one out. Do learning activities and assessments allow students to engage in deep critical thinking and analysis? Yes, no, somewhat. Problem solving. Do learning activities and assessments allow them to engage in complex and messy, not simple problem solving? So those questions, if teachers could take a lesson, look at that. And so that's a lot of what my coaching has been, not just in our training sessions, but also when I work with principals, when I work with teachers in PLCs. So we have deeper thinking and learning PLCs, or I toss in the technology part in there too, of course. But we look at how can I take this lesson and just add a little spice, so we say. So toss in a little spice to it, add it up a little with deeper thinking and learning or authentic work. And it makes it really easy for teachers. Again, like I said, low ceiling, high floor. So we can take that and in a PLC and just look at one segment of the protocol. And that's what I would advise when you're working and coaching teachers, is that you just use one section, take a lesson. They will blow your minds with the things that they, the ideas that they come up with for to redesign lessons. So that has been really eye-opening for us to see teachers be able to do that. So as you can see there, we just have a copy of the 4 shifts. So deeper thinking and learning, authentic work, student agency, and personalization. So I always like to say, it's like that song by the Fix, if you're old enough to remember, one thing leads to another. One shift leads to another. So when you shift, like deeper thinking and learning, the tech infusion will automatically happen without even thinking about it, because that's the first, because tech adds that layer and enables them to get to deeper thinking and learning with technology. So tech is the last one. And as a tech person, you know, that's kind of hard for me to say the tech infusion's the last, but it automatically just happens. If you allow students to have some agency and personalization, I guarantee you they will pick some form of technology to add to that lesson, to it, when you allow students to have voice in what's being selected. So that's the protocol as a whole.
If you'll go back one thing, Brandy, real quick.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give you, since she's talked about that protocol, I want to give you a little perspective from the district. We went into the 4 shifts when COVID hit, because we knew that we would have not as much FaceTime with kids, not having them in the room, and knew that anything that we could do to make that experience virtually a deeper experience for kids, that it was only going to help us through that. But moving forward to where we are now, this has also really, I guess, melded well with our new vision about deeper learning. We have lots of things going on that are specific to deeper learning as a district that all really connect extremely well with this deeper learning and the 4 shifts protocol.
It is amazing how much everything overlaps. All of the work that we're doing. So, but I like this idea. If we want deeper learning, greater student agency, authentic work, tech infusion, we have to design it for them. But what I want teachers to see is that with the 4 shifts protocol, it makes it easy to do that, and it's attainable. So that's kind of,
and our message has been across the board is that, you know, these joyous learning experiences, they're intentional. They're not something that just happens. I mean, it can happen innately, but what we see is that teachers have to really plan for them, and then that protocol is the vehicle to do that.
And I think the engagement piece, when you're giving kids authentic work that is meaningful to them, and they have choice in how they do that, that just really, you know, enhances the student experience. And so that's what those 2 middle ones are about, around authentic work and student agency and personalization. And it does make a difference.
So Pam, do you want to walk us through kind of how that worked with a sample lesson?
sure. So basically, we just called it an extreme lesson makeover. So I just pulled a lesson from the book, which was the easiest thing to do. This one, the preamble translation. So this is just a basic 5th grade lesson on the preamble with a worksheet that teachers would have given in the past, right? And it kind of shows you, you know, you watch the Schoolhouse Rock preamble, you do the puzzle, you do whole class to translate the parts of the preamble. So what I did is I tasked the teachers with doing a not so extreme lesson makeover on this particular lesson. We've used other lessons from the book, but this is just the one that we're using today. So they would take the protocol, and I would give them time in PLCs, or in this case, it was in a training session at the beginning of the year. And we would take time, pick one of the areas of the protocol, and in 5 minutes, redesign this lesson. And my mind was blown at the things that our teachers came up with in 5 minutes. So what I wanted them to see is, this is not another thing for you to do. This is not another thing on your plate. This is something that just makes it easier and more attainable for you. And so I had great buy-in from teachers, because they saw how easy it was to just take and add something to make it more authentic. And I always tell them, you know, when you're thinking about authentic learning, take it outside the 4 walls of your classroom. What did you do to make it more authentic? And a lot of times they're doing that. They just don't recognize or realize that it fits within deeper thinking and learning, or authentic or student agency lots of times. So I have included here the link to the form for the Not So Extreme Lesson Makeover that you're free to use, make a copy of, do whatever you want with. So basically, within, and then we shared out, which I'm not sure, I think maybe the next slide, we may have some examples of things that our teachers came up with here. So, for example, and the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that the Kentucky technology standards that were passed in 2019, that were passed into law, those are things that that work very nicely with the 4 shifts protocol, with the deeper thinking and learning initiative, because a lot of the same verbiage, the same language is used across the board. So we hear things like a knowledge constructor, innovative designer, creative communicator, all of those things actually help kids, enable them to get to that deeper thinking and learning utilizing technology. So for example, our teachers came up with things like, oh, we could add, kids could create Flipgrids or Canva or ThingLink. We could bring in real world examples, do a school building metaphor, create and explain why with the preamble. So they came up, do you notice how when they did that, then the tech just naturally happened as a part of the process without even thinking about it. The tech enabled them to get to that deeper thinking and learning level. So
I will say, as Pam was working with individual groups of teachers, the impact was not just with that group of teachers, because our district PLCs, we have opportunities for grade levels in K through 5 and content areas in middle and high to share those experiences. So this one lesson that one teacher has, reshifted has impact throughout our district. So it's not just a singleton that's being impacted.
And so I think teachers were able to see that when technology integration is purposeful and intentional, it has impact. So this is an infographic created by Matt Miller, amazing. Ditch That Textbook. If you're familiar with Matt, follow him on Twitter. He's amazing. But if you look at, I love this because visually, for me as a teacher, visually, this helps me to see, okay, well, what does deeper thinking and learning look like? Critical thinking, creativity. Am I allowing my students to have those opportunities? Authentic work. So this we have utilized so much. I put this on every one of my newsletters that I send out, because my newsletter is literally divided into those 4 categories. And everything that I do with teachers, I funnel through those 4 areas. So my message is consistent. It doesn't change. But it's been nice to see how it fits very nicely with PBL, with the inquiry-based, with the new social studies standards, with so many things in our state right now. It's just a perfect fit.
And can you go back, Brandy, real quick?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. So like at the district level, we do a lot here in Round County. We take on a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire. So we felt it's super important to make sure that we make the connections for our staff in the district as well as our administrators. A perfect example of that is that we have rolled out the clarity work. And all of our teachers, use learning intentions or learning goals and success criteria. So if you look at student agency and personalization, learning goals is one of those pieces, and that us being able to say, hey, it's not one more thing. We already know and use learning goals and success criteria. So it's not just one more thing. So I think that's been really important.
And I will chime in on Brandy's behalf. We have rolled out and been working with evidence-based instructional practices, and under student agency and personalization, there's leading discussion. So it's just amazing to see how everything is so cohesive and fits together.
So I'm going to speak on that a little bit with our graduate profile. And so a few years ago, our superintendent came to me as the principal of the high school and said, I want you to have a graduate profile. And I had to go home and Google that. And so it was like, okay, how's this going to work? And so we've worked very closely with UK Next Gen over the last 4 years. And so when the commissioner came out with our vision for the state, I felt like we were in a good place already, because we have been doing this work for a couple of years beforehand. So it's taken us a little while. We've sent lots of teachers and admin staff to UK Next Gen to work on what a graduate profile looks like. And this is where that cohesive message, I think, comes together. And Pam is the first to point this out when she looks at what our teachers in our community came up with. That graduate profile is that all of the tech standards fit in very closely with what we're asking, those skills that we want our students to have when they graduate from Round County. And so We're working on this right now. In the middle of it, we have lots of little pilots going on in the district. We have a pilot for our senior defenses of learning. We have some pilots with passion projects. We are doing a pilot with standards-based grading to go along with this. And so we are probably have taken a little bit longer to roll out our graduate profile than some other districts, but we're trying to do it very intentionally and to bring everything together because we want it to be a single message that's coming out from the district.
And I will say at the district level, another connection that we make is through our improvement planning documents. And so our district improvement plan and all the school CSIPs are aligned to 3 big buckets, and that's collective efficacy, personalized learning, and the Viking graduate. And so all of those experiences that we're talking about with 4 shifts play a major part in each of those buckets. So about teachers' skills, about how we ensure that kids' needs are met, and then how do we create those vibrant experiences and graduate the best kids possible.
And make sure that our professional growth plans for teachers are all are aligned with that vision as well. So one thing that we think is really important in Round County is if we're going to ask our students to do it, then we need to be prepared as teachers and leaders to do this in our district. And so we have had several teachers that were a part of PBL Works 101 training last summer, and those teachers at Tilden Hog Elementary and Round County Senior High School are doing an exhibition of learning actually tomorrow night to talk to their colleagues about what they've learned with implementing PBL. We know that PBL is a form of deeper learning. That's one operational definition that we've really had to work on our district is when we say deeper learning, it's not just project-based learning. There's all kinds of other things that fall into those categories. And so we'll invite you all. We have lots of teachers coming because they want to learn from their colleagues and they want to see, what's going well with implementing PBL in your classroom and what are you struggling with and how can we help that? And so we're hoping we are a host for PBL 101 next fall or over the summer. And so we're hoping to get as many people trained in that as we can. The PBL Works shared that at the superintendent's conference over in December, and they really their message and one that we really took home with us is that as administrators and leaders in our schools and districts, we talk the talk, we got to walk the walk, and so really trying to figure out a way. When Bree and April came to me last year and said I want to teach 100% PBL, my immediate response was yes, and how can I help you do that? And so as administrators, sometimes we just have to get out of our teachers' way, and they've got good ideas and we need to figure out a way to make that work for them. So we've sent them to trainings. The Pritchard committee has come in and worked with them. So we're trying to do as much as we can to foster that with those teachers in the classroom. Oh, this is Pam's jam right here, and I love it. And so I'm gonna let you talk about your little cadre of technology fellowship.
So I've been blessed this year to roll out a technology fellowship in our district. In addition to the PLCs and the coaching and the other work that I do, we have rolled out a technology fellowship where we've utilized the 4 shifts. And I also wanted to chime in that Scott McLeod has been a great resource. He has worked with this group of teachers to help them redesign lessons. And sometimes it's really important for them to hear from a voice outside of your district, an expert in the field. And so the author of the book, you couldn't ask for a better expert than Scott. So he is so willing to work with your teachers. If you reach out to him, he will Zoom with them. He will walk them through, hold their hand step by step. So we've been able to, I meet with my fellowship once a month, and we redesign lessons. We look at technology integration. We look at project-based learning, passion projects, all the things. we look at all the things, and it's been such an amazing. So one thing we've had is we have K through 12 representative in the fellowship. We have actually the band director is in the technology fellowship, which I'm really proud of. And he's so we kind of personalize it, just like we look at asking teachers to personalize. I try to personalize the PD to fit the different areas that our teachers represent. So they go back to their schools and then they sell it, which has been amazing. The feedback that I'm hearing from teachers when they go back into their buildings and they share in staff meetings and PLCs, the things that we work with in our technology fellowship. So it has been a blessing to be able to build relationships and work with these teachers this year. And I just am so proud of them and the work that they're doing. So I know that Bowling Green Independent as well as Bardstown Independent, we worked together collaboratively last summer on this same presentation and on the 4 shifts. And they also have started a fellowship. So if you are interested in doing that, the QR code there links you to my first session that I did with our teachers. And then I also, at the end of this presentation, have a link to all of our resources, Bardstown, Bowling Green, as well as Round County's resources. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about that, because it has been an awesome experience for our district and for our teachers, I think. So
There's 2 minutes left. Well, 1 minute, ladies.
Okay, so we're going to end with Pam's favorite quote. So go ahead, Pam.
So this is actually from a book called Bold School, which is also technology. So when you think about it, learning is king, growth is queen. Cool is the court jester. The jester is technology, and the jester has value, but don't put him in charge of the kingdom. So that's why tech comes last.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is excellent information as we all move toward deeper learning. And I just want to say that everyone is welcome to join one of the open breakout rooms with these ladies if you would like. Rooms 12 through 15 are open if you all have any further questions or want to continue a conversation. Thank you all so much.